Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's officially October now, but not too fast. Let's reflect on September. Everything that I read this month, I read 7 books. We're gonna talk about them. And I haven't showed you guys my empties yet. Doing Project Pan this year to kind of practice healthier consumption and lessen overconsumption. So I'm gonna show you guys my empties because I've been doing that on TikTok every month. First is Seduction Theory by Emily Adrian. If you're interested in my full unfiltered thoughts on this read, I posted an entire reading vlog on it where I broke everything down. Too Long Didn't Read version is pretty much that I love the idea of this book and not necessarily the execution. So the idea is that this is a student's master's thesis where she's falling in love with her advisor but also exposing her advisor's husband's infidelity, and it's a new sort of different take on an unreliable narrator and just unreliable characters in general. And I was just ultimately frustrated with the read, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. In my heart, I feel like this is a 2-star read, but the premise, the writing was good enough to give it 3 stars, but just barely. This next book that I read is probably one of my favorites of the month, and if I had a book club, I think that I would pick this one to be my book club read. This is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto. Honestly, just what an unexpected surprise. I initially picked this up because it was like fulfilling a Goodreads challenge, and I like a good challenge. So I was like, okay, I'll read it. I got the audiobook copy, started listening to it. In the beginning, I was a little put off by all of the POVs, but I'm glad that I kind of saw it out. So this story follows Vera Wong, and she, after the loss of her husband, is kind of trying her best to live her day to day. She's not really in contact with her only son, Tilly, and one morning she walks down to her tea house, which also doesn't really have any customers or anything at this point, but she walks down to her tea house and she sees a dead body. So this story is the mystery of like who did it and how, and then we hear from different characters like Marshall, who was the guy that's dead, Marshall's wife, brother, and then some people that he interacted with. So you don't necessarily know who did it and why. You slowly realize that Marshall, like, good riddance to Marshall, and nobody's really sad that he's dead. So once I knew that, this whole story got so wholesome for me. There were a couple of romance subplots, found family, just different things that you wouldn't expect when you pick up a book that starts with a murder. There is still plenty of mystery to keep you intrigued and going on with the read, but overall I never would have expected a murder mystery to be so like cozy and wholesome and just sweet. So this is one that I highly recommend. Then I did a reread of Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I still think this story is just as impactful as it was the first time, but I just think in general when it comes to rereads, like obviously there are things that you already know, things that you expect to see. It's been a while since I've read it, so I kind of wanted to see how it held up. I personally believe that no child can be fast enough to catch the attention of a grown man that isn't looking for it. This story is kind of just the embodiment of that, but in the music industry. But in the author's note, she talks about that this is just not necessarily about R. Kelly, but about all the adults that are actively predators and pursuing young children, and specifically in the music industry or in any industry where you don't necessarily have any guidance. And these people are taking advantage of young women, young people in general. This was a 5-star reread and one that I will usually always recommend. Next, if I had 2 nickels for every male main character whose name was Jamie in the month of September, I'd have 2 nickels. And that isn't a lot, but it's more than one. Both of the male main characters were named Jamie, and I was also reading them at the same time, so that made for an interesting little play. This one was a reread. I thought that I gave this read 5 stars. Turns out that I gave it 4, and after the reread I see why I gave it 4. This is about Jamie and B. Things that I think this book does really well is like neurodivergent rep, healthy communication. Chloe Liese writes two people falling in love in a way that's so specific to her and so beautiful. So I always recommend that element of it. But oh my goodness, the breakup pisses me off so bad. If there's someone that's pursuing you and they tell you, I want to do everything in my power to help you be okay, who are you to look at them and say no? And that's pretty much what happened in this breakup and why it's so frustrating for me. I also really hate grand gesture tattoos that was sprinkled in here. There are things that I like and there are a couple things that I don't like, which is why this book is not 5 stars, but it is still one that I recommend and still enjoy. However, the Jamie that I did not enjoy, I talked about this more in a Coffee and Current Reads video as well. This story felt like two people with a martyr kink that slip into bed together. The idea, again, was something that I thought I would really enjoy. I started off loving it. Eve was a female main character that had no sort of accountability. She blamed everyone for everything. And then even at the end in therapy, she kind of talked through the fact that, I'm in this predicament, not like, you know, fertility aside, her marriage. I'm in this predicament because I pursued him because he needed emotional support. And now I'm upset that he needs emotional support. She cheated on her fiance. Even though you go and fall in love with this man that she kept calling MAGA, which I did not love, but you go and fall in love with this white man who you think looks like a Trump supporter, cheat on your fiance, and then somehow they all end up happily ever after. I gave this book 2 stars. It's not one that I'd recommend personally. Reading is subjective, so take what applies. I then read One of Us is Dead by Jeneva Rose. For a Jeneva book, that's pretty much a 5-star read. As I'm reflecting though, I don't remember much of what happened, and that is pretty consistent with her books to me. I know there was some infidelity, some cheating, murder. Yeah, there was a lot of death, a lot of killing, some like covering up of it. It didn't all really make sense, and this was one of those reads that I like put on when I started mopping and was like, yeah, this is great. So like I said, for Jeneva, this is like putting a crown on her head. I don't have much more else to say about this read. The last book I read in September was Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. Guys, it's not that I'm eating my words, but there are definitely some books that I DNF and then I read them again and it's 5 stars. So we know I've talked about slowing down my reads, being more immersive. And this book actually has some discussion questions in the back. So before I even read the book, I was like, okay, let me tackle this like a scholar, like an academic. So I read through the discussion questions and then I started the read so I could be looking for some things. I did film a video of my full review and thoughts after the book, so stay tuned for that. But summing that up, I loved it. A thread that kind of carried throughout the book was the idea that grief is a love song in reverse. Joni is coming to terms with her mom's dementia diagnosis and what good and bad days look like and what it looks like to be there for her in that moment, but also dealing with homesickness and kind of imposter syndrome about, you know, I went off and did this big thing, but I feel like my life is still here and I've missed things that have happened there. You know, I miss my brother, I miss my best friend, and my mom, my dad, you know, so all these things that she's going through, and she meets this man. I was a little confused by how her and Sasha initially met and how they first got into each other's heads, but it's also the journey of them falling in love in reverse and being able to understand everything about each other. And then at that dreaded 3rd act breakup point, like realizing we don't really have anything other than the fact that you're always in my head. When you're not there, how do I still feel about you? Will I actively choose you? Will I be there for you? And I did, and it was lovely. So sometimes you have to give a book another shot and let yourself be pleasantly surprised. If it wasn't clear already, I gave this book 5 stars. It's also making me feel like, should I go back and read the other book? Should I try again? I don't know. I loved it. Switching gears, let's talk about my Empties. So for those of you that don't know, I don't know when Project Pan started, but it's essentially about using things all the way to the bottom before going out and buying more things, because I'm a reformed 6 at a time body wash girl, 8 at a time coffee syrups, that type of thing. What I've learned through the past couple months of doing Project Pan is that I enjoy getting to use something completely and then go out and like make that a process of picking out a new body scrub or a body wash, smelling everything, just having that be its own experience. It just makes everything a little bit more meaningful and purposeful, in my opinion. Let's see what empties I have. I finished this Super Goat Rosé wine this month. September was a month. I was having a lot of iced coffee, so I ended up finishing this Nescafe Gold Espresso. I don't know how I feel about it in comparison with the blue one that I've used before. I think this one is a little bit more expensive than the blue one, but I couldn't really taste the differences, so I don't really know what that means. Caramel macchiato creamer, and now I'm currently using the pumpkin spice creamer. Coffee's coffee. Dryer sheets. Miracle Volume Aussie shampoo. This month was a big hair month. I was washing my hair every week. Obviously, that comes with product usage. I think that I'm switching away from this brand though. I've used them for at least 6 or 7 years. Now I'm kind of developing hair goals instead of just washing and drying my hair. So length, retention, all of those things, and I'm looking for products that actively target that. End of an era for sure. Vanilla and White Jasmine body wash. Every day that I used this felt like a trial and tribulation. Something about when I brought it home and like smelt it on my body chemistry didn't love. Doesn't lather. Just don't recommend. Dish detergent, rinse and refresh. I kind of go through this every month though, so this is nothing new. And a container of dishwasher pack. I run my dishwasher. Good Molecules Overnight Exfoliating Serum. This actually works. Like when I use this, I can, in the morning, I definitely see that my face is like got rid of some of that dead skin, but it's not something that I use a lot. It's also not something that I feel like my skincare routine will be missing if I don't repurchase. Body scrubs are kind of my guilty pleasure. I like to buy multiple and I like to use a lot of it. Lychee Kiss and the Blue Musk. The Blue Musk definitely smell a little better. This Lychee Kiss, I just saw it and picked it up. I didn't really love it, but I did get to the bottom of it, so cheers. I've also been doing deep conditions every week. The Different Feel Ultra Grow with basil and castor. This is a deep conditioning treatment. I loved it. My hair was eating this up. Felt literally so soft every time I washed it after. Steak sauce. I love steak. I went through 3 Bath and Body Works scents, 1 Gain plug-in. Honestly, if you know, you know. I'd prefer the Gain scent over the Bath and Body Works, but I have a lot of these, so I'm gonna use them. Another room spray. This is from the Soap Factory in Arkansas, and I really, really loved it. Again, I'm someone that likes to have multiple of things at a time, and you would never think that it takes you a year to use something like this, but it has. So I'm so glad that I finished it. I'm so glad that I can buy more like room sprays and scents. This Melon Lip Gloss is still a little bit in there, but I like can't get it out. My bread and butter for the month of September, part of my everyday lip combo, so I was putting it to work. The hand soap, all the supplements that I finished this month, my Ollie pre and probiotics, we use these all the time, we love them. I switched to the Happy Hoo-Ha pills instead of the I can't remember what it was called. I'll try to put them on the screen. Instead of those that I used last month. One of those things that I feel like you don't really know that they're working until they stop, or until you stop taking them, and then you're like, oh, so that's what that was doing. I don't want to stop taking them, but I also just don't know what they're doing. My Azo cranberry pills, we go through these about every 2 months. Mucus relief. The season is changing. I was popping these like candy, I fear. Allergy relief and pain reliever. I've been sick all month. This is one of my like all-time swear by this product. I have really, really, really bad ingrowns and was struggling with ingrown hairs. I didn't learn until this year that ingrowns are just trapped under dead skin. That changed the whole game for me. Now this does have like a little chemical type burn to it for a second, but then it dries and you know, you're all good. Brightening, and it literally brings the ingrown hairs right to the top. You just, if you even have to pluck them, sometimes they just like fall out. This is expensive though. I think it's like $33, but this is the best thing that's worked for me, and I've tried a lot of stuff. So hear me when I say that this is worth the price point. You can also use underarms, like under anywhere that you want like brightening or you're struggling with ingrown hair. All right guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed sharing some of my favorite parts of September with you. At the end of every month, it seems like I'm saying how grateful I am to be able to step into a new month and take the things that I've learned from the previous month and apply them moving forward. And that still stands for the month of September going into October. Every day is a new opportunity to learn something about yourself and others and how you perceive yourself and the world around you. That's something that I'm actively working on, living in the moment and not in the past or too far in the future. But it is nice at times like this when you're like purposely reflecting to say, wow, I came pretty far from where I was 30 days ago. If you enjoyed this video, and honestly, even if you didn't, if you're still here, make sure to like the video, comment something. What did you read this month? How many books did you read? What was your favorite? I don't know, tell me something. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Links to my TikTok, Instagram, Goodreads, book of the month, all of that is in the description for you down below. I hope you enjoyed your September, and I hope October is even better. I will see you guys in the next video.